Welcome back to Everyday Economics, a podcast that helps you learn about the economic world happening around you every day. I'm your host, Chris Krug, president of the 501c3 nonprofit Franklin News Foundation. Everyday Economics is a production of America's Talking Network. You can check out all of our great podcasts at americastalking.com. To support podcasts such as this one, please make your tax-deductible charitable contribution by clicking the link in the show description. We're recording this episode on Tuesday, December 20th, and joining me as always is my friend, Dr. Orphe Divounguy. He's a PhD economist. We're going to keep this tight. One thing, you and I just concluded taping an episode about the shots that we called and then we got wrong. You threw a little jab in there at the end while we were off the air that I got something wrong that I didn't claim that I got wrong. What is it that you claimed that I got wrong?
You said we were in the middle of a recession, and then the GDP numbers came back to say, oh, whoa, 2.3% growth.
So, all right. So my thought on that is that the government has pencil whipped the stats to make it look like we're not in a recession. I still very much believe that we're in a recession. So I'm wrong, but I don't feel like I'm wrong.
Now, if you tell me that we're going into 2023, and we'll see potentially negative, I think we're going to be flat in 2023, but potentially we could slip into negative territory.
We could.
Now, if you say that for 2023, I'd say you may actually be right. We'll see.
So I guess, this episode is we're going to call our shots for 2023. So I'm going to call that shot and say that we're going to go into a recession in 2023 if we're not already in one now. I'll just stop right there. So you tell me what you see.
I think you might actually be right. I think economic growth is slowing. It will slow significantly in 2023. I'm hopeful that, we'll have some flat growth, 0.1, 0.2% growth to finish out the year. But it is very possible, very, very possible that we could slip into negative territory as everything is slowing down. I mean, the personal savings rate is now, 2%, something like that, closer to 2%. Americans are clearly dissaving. Inflation has squeezed them tremendously in 2022. Yeah, they're okay, but how long can we say they're going to be okay for? And we're also, by the way, credit cards are expensive. They can't borrow as much anymore. And so if you start to see a squeeze on the American consumer, consumption making up 70% of GDP, you're going to get GDP is definitely going to stall, and you could potentially even slip into negative territory. So I think that will be something for 2023 to watch out for. I also think that potentially end of 2023, early 24, we might see a Fed pivot, because if we go into that slowdown and we get into closer and closer to negative territory or even fall into negative territory, the Fed will have to cut rates. And so that's also a potential scenario going into 2023. In the housing market, I still believe affordability is a thing, and that it's the number one issue. And I think that people will continue to move to areas where they can get some housing. They want lifestyle. It's the Instagram generation, they want to be able to have a nice home, and so they're going to go to places that offer some amenities, some parks, some recreation, but also some affordable housing. That's going to continue to put downward pressure on house prices, on rents overall, and so on inflation altogether, right? Inflation, and this is why I think 2023, we're finally going to see inflation come down significantly into the future. Those are my calls. I think that the Midwest is well positioned to capitalize, because house prices in the Midwest are still relatively affordable when compared to the other, the coastal states and markets across the country. Midwest is in a good, you got Chicago. I mean, Chicago is a beautiful city. If they could just get the policy stuff under control, they would attract a whole lot of people.
Big if there.
Yeah, I know.
Big if. Yeah, all right. So here's my shot for 2023, and I think it's near term. I don't think we're going to have to sit around and wait for this too long. I think we're going to see a lot of auto repossessions coming up in the first half of the year. I think we are going to see some job cuts. We're going to see some businesses that are going to prune it back to try to stay solvent and to wind their way through what I see is going to be choppy seas for at least 2 quarters. And I'm looking at some of this data. I mean, 1 out of 6 American car buyers in the last year purchased a car that would required a payment in excess of $1,000 a month. 1 out of 6. So that is up more than 25% since 2019. I mean, if you just think about it, like sort of like, where car payments used to be.
Everybody wants a fancy car for Instagram, man. I mean, maybe that's what it is.
They're playing it wrong. If you didn't need a car and you bought a car and you have a payment that's up,
and you have $1,000 payment per month.
That's a long haul. I think we're going to see quite a bit of change in the used car market, and I think that the availability of used cars is going to be much higher. People are, if they're not getting repossessed.
But you know what the problem is, though? Like, the thing, though, is that used car, new car, they're all very expensive these days. It's unbelievable. Your typical SUV that used to cost you, like, I don't know, $35,000 a few years ago is now like $60,000, $70,000.
$50,000, $60,000, $70,000. No, that's exactly right.
I mean, look, you just buy yourself a Chevy Tahoe when it's like so expensive. It used to be a cheap car. Well, relatively.
Not anymore. We're going to call it good there. That's my shot. You called your shot, and we're going to call a few more shots in 2023. For Orphe Divounguy, this has been Chris Krug. Subscribe to Everyday Economics and dozens of other quality podcasts at America's Talking About.